Hi, I'm Joe Braverman. Welcome back to MindsetGo.com. This is Back Talk Sports. Here with Cam O'Connor, Tom Kelly. Guys, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
I'm freaking pumped to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Can't wait, man.
That's exactly what we're.
Oh my God! Here
That's
we go.
exactly what we're going to get into.
Go.
It's the Stanley Cup Final. The Pittsburgh Penguins beating the San Jose Sharks 3-1 in Game 6. They win the series 4-2.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom, I gotta ask, you're the hockey guy
yes,
around
I am,
here.
Sir.
Break down Game 6. How did Pittsburgh get their second cup?
Game 6 pretty much went down like this. Pittsburgh went into San Jose, and they really just stymied the San Jose Sharks. I mean, the San Jose Sharks only got 2 shots on goal in the entire third period. This was when they were down by 1 goal. So you would have to assume that the Sharks would, come out, and throw the kitchen sink at the Pittsburgh Penguins. That didn't happen. The Sharks really couldn't get anything going offensively, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, after the Sharks tied it on Logan Couture's questionable goal through Matt Murray's 5-hole, Chris Letang came out with a great shift. He took the puck on a tour of the attacking end and eventually put the puck past Martin Jones, and pretty much that was the difference. Pittsburgh showed up, and San Jose just didn't have it in the end, just to be honest.
All right, Cam?
Well, like he said, the Sharks really, they just kind of couldn't do it.
I mean,
they
Joe
couldn't
Thornton,
pull it off.
Joe Pavelski, and Patrick Marleau were ghosts all series.
Yeah, I agree. And they were the ones that were expected to be the biggest factors.
Yeah.
But then here comes the HBK line,
Oh my
as they
God.
like to call
The
themselves.
Heartbreak Kid.
Are they now the most dangerous third line in the NHL?
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say they're the most dangerous bottom 6 line in the NHL. You're forgetting about that great fourth line of the New York Islanders with Casey. This is a tongue twister of a name. Casey Cizikas. It's Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck. I think they're the best bottom 6 line in the NHL, but that's a story for another day. They're certainly very dangerous. I think part of the Pittsburgh Penguins' kind of identity this postseason is that they caught lightning in a bottle. They weren't really the best team in the league all year. They were just the best team for the last 2 months, and that's really what fed into the HBK line success. And Phil Kessel, part of that HBK line, I think should have won the Conn Smythe Trophy over a certain other player named Crosby.
We're gonna get into that. You talk about you're mentioning him. He's got a name. It's Sidney Crosby. Sidney, who was highly regarded at one point. If he could avoid the injuries, we could be talking to him right now as the best player in the NHL. He's got 2 MVPs. He's a 5-time All-Star. He's now a
gold
2-time
medals.
champ. And now he's got a Conn Smythe Trophy. Tom, you mentioned it. You'd rather have Phil Kessel.
So
was Sidney Crosby a good choice for Conn Smythe?
So I'm not bad-mouthing Sidney Crosby. I think he had a very good playoff, but here's the thing. Sidney Crosby had 19 points in 24 playoff games this season, and Phil Kessel had 22 points in the same amount of time. So basically, Phil Kessel was a point-a-game guy. And Sidney Crosby, also, you're going to give a playoff MVP to somebody who did not score a single goal in the Stanley Cup Finals or against the Washington Capitals, and the player who basically, or part of the line who carried you in that Washington series, and really for the whole playoffs, Phil Kessel is not getting the Conn Smythe Trophy. And even before I go to Crosby, there are a couple of other players I would consider. Chris Letang, who was eating up minutes like crazy. He played 29 minutes in Game 6. That's almost half the game, and he made great strides in his own end. I mean, before this playoffs, really, Chris Letang was not a great player in his own end. And really, if you look at this series, he was blocking shots like crazy. He did such a great job. And
Phil Kessel wasn't all that good in the leaves.
Phil Kessel is the best where you can get the best production out of him when he's not your franchise guy. And that's the big mistake the Toronto Maple Leafs made, was he made their centerpiece guy, where he's just not that type of a player.
So would you say that he's not regarded on Pittsburgh because he is on that third line? Yeah,
he's on the third line.
He's regarded.
Let
as
Crosby and Malkin and all those guys worry about that. He's just there for secondary. Like, I'm calling Phil Kessel a secondary goal scorer, but really on a team like the Penguins, when you have again Crosby, I'm not bow-mouthing him at all. I just think Phil Kessel, with the playoffs that he had, the fact that he was a point-a-game guy, he should have got the Conn Smythe.
But
I'd consider Matt Murray, who tied the rookie record for wins for goaltenders before Crosby as well.
All right, well, here's the thing with Sidney Crosby is that the NHL it's basically what they touched on earlier with the value kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does Crosby have that value? Because, as I said before, he was regarded as maybe one of the best skaters in the league if he didn't get injured and miss so many times.
Right.
I think that's what they're looking at.
So,
they're looking at the superstar effect. Like, oh, this guy has got such a good career.
This Conn Smythe decision was almost like in the NFL where the people, whoever who votes, can't decide on an MVP. They just give it to the winning quarterback. This is exactly what that felt like. So really, even though I thought that Sidney Crosby had a very good postseason, Phil Kessel and Chris Letang and Matt Murray just had better ones.
Well, you know what? Anybody can get injured. You know he can get injured, but had he not been injured, you know, maybe he could have done better. Maybe he's got all this behind him. And I think he should definitely be at the top.
He did have concussion issues, but I think his last huge injury was 2011, 2012, somewhere in that area. He had a really great second half of the season this year. He had a good playoffs. I'm just saying that Phil Kessel played better. I think he was more of a key factor to the Pittsburgh Penguins winning the Stanley Cup. That's all I'm saying. I'm not diminishing Sidney Crosby. I'm not saying strip the C. I'm just saying Phil Kessel was a better all around. Well, he was a better goal scorer, a better key cog in the Pittsburgh Penguins' success in the playoffs.
Well, now switching from individual to team success, I mean, San Jose, they may have lost the Stanley Cup, but this is their first Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes, it was.
I would have to say they showed their own. I mean, Logan Couture had a great postseason. Joe Pavelski, Joe Thornton, they all had a great postseason, as well as Pittsburgh. Tom, what do you see in the future for both the Sharks and the Penguins coming into the 2016-17
Well, that's a tough question because in the NHL, really, you have that ceiling of whoever. If you're in the playoffs, you have just as much of a chance to win as, say, the Blackhawks, the Kings, the Blues, so on. Really, coming into this postseason, nobody really had the Penguins and Sharks in the postseason. I had the Sharks out in the first round, and then they go out and beat the Kings in 5. I did not see that coming. And the Penguins, really, I had coming into the playoffs, I thought that the Penguins and the Capitals would meet eventually in the playoffs, and I thought the Capitals would win. I ate my words. That's what I get for trusting the Capitals, honestly, in anything. I learned my lesson. I'm never picking them again. But really, it's really the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs are really, if you get hot, if enough things go your way and if you get hot at the right time, you're gonna win.
So basically, Cam, would you say that you need to get through the regular season, even as an 8 seed, you have a chance? Would you say that the playoffs for the Stanley Cup are wide open?
I don't really know. I mean, you've always got these teams that are most likely to get up there, but the Sharks was pretty surprising this year. I think that I didn't pick them either. I wasn't expecting them, but
they did have former Bruin Martin Jones.
That's true. They lost, yes, but they did very well, and I was impressed with them. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be the same next year, but I definitely think that they did well this year, and if they can keep that up, they might end up having a chance at getting to the Stanley Cup.
All right, well, we're going to shift from the NHL now. We're going to go to the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit of football. The Patriots opening up training camp, and one of the biggest stories is the injuries, and it's Dion Lewis, who was highly regarded before he tore his ACL Week 9 against the Redskins as the most valuable player on that team outside of the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. Cam, Dion Lewis is going to be, when the season starts, he's going to be 10 months off of ACL surgery, and normally it takes about a year to recover. Should the Patriots start Dion Lewis, even if they say that he is ready?
See, I don't know. I'm worried about him because from my experience with people tearing their ACLs and having to get surgery, I have a friend who took way longer than 10 months. So I see they're trying to get him back out there. They're saying he's ready, but if it comes down to it and he's not ready, it could really mess them up, and it could end up being not worth it. And so if they just wait, play it safe, I think it'd be better for them.
But he's that pass-catching running back that they look for all the time. It went from Kevin Falk, it went to Shane Vereen. Now it looked like it was going to Dion Lewis before he got hurt. He brings that much value to the passing game.
He was huge for the Pats.
If you're not going to have Tom Brady, you need weapons. You need Edelman healthy. You need Amendola. You need Gronk. And you need Dion Lewis. So
yeah, you know what? Listen. Dennis Seidenberg a couple of years ago tore up his ACL, and he's still trying to get over it. He hasn't been even close to the same guy. So we can't expect Dion Lewis to come back after just 10 months, after a torn ACL, and be that same player that he was a year ago. I don't think that's realistic.
See, he's exactly right. I think it'd be easier for him to just play it safe, wait a little bit more, and then maybe he can come back and not... and, you know, be the player that he was going to be, the player that he was last year. Because, like I said, if he comes back and it gets worse, he's never going to be the player he was again. So I think his only shot at being the guy he was before is waiting a little bit.
So I would wait too.
All right. So another guy with injury, we mentioned him before, Rob Gronkowski. We all know how fragile he is. He has had several surgeries, several injuries. We've seen the Pats, you know, kind of take it lightly, not try and get him in as much action. Cam, should the Patriots give Gronkowski some action even in the preseason, or do they hold off until the regular season when he's 100%?
Well, you know, again, it's the same thing with Dion Lewis. You know, do you wait or do you put him in? Because, like you said, he's one of their best guys too. They need him, and if they lose two of their best guys, they're hurting. And he is very injury prone, and now he's got the Madden curse. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but he's got the Madden curse. So so if he goes down this year, that's two of their main guys are losing. So I don't really know, honestly, because it's hard to say, because they really need him, but he might just get hurt again. He might get something even worse than he had. He's had multiple surgeries at this point. You know, he's prone to injury, and if one of those injuries is worse than any of the ones he's had before, it could be over. But at the same time, they need him.
Yeah, you know, for Rob Gronkowski, as you said, he has, you know, a huge injury history, and we've seen what he means to the Patriots offense. I mean, just look at, you know, that AFC Championship game against the Baltimore Ravens, where you were sorely missing him on offense, and then look at him to the Patriots run in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Patriots aren't really winning the Super Bowl without Rob Gronkowski that year. So I would, if he is injured, because we really don't know that, he was at practice today, so maybe that's a good sign. But if he's truly injured, like I'd lay off.
But here's the argument I make, is that you're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo for 4 games, as it looks like, because Tom Brady's going to be suspended for whatever reason. You want Gronkowski to be incorporated and to have that chemistry with Garoppolo as he does with Brady. So
that would be,
that's the only argument. Other than that, I have a feeling you have to sit Gronkowski out.
If the Patriots have any sort of a hunch that something might be wrong with Gronkowski, don't take any chances. Sit him.
All right,
I can agree with that, yeah.
Well, that is going to do it here for Back Talk Sports. Tom, Cam, thank you very much.
No problem.
Joe Braverman. And if you want to be exactly where we are right now, in this very chair, you can email us info@mindsetgo.com.